I know I'm capable of achieving specific goals in my life. I demand persistence and consistent actions from myself. I commit to taking these actions. I will achieve my goals.
I wrote this almost 10 years ago. I was 19.
At that time, I was studying at the academy and living on about $150 a month. I still had 3 years of studying ahead of me, followed by a job in a system I didn't really want to stay in.
But those were just the first lines. After that, there was a long text about how I imagined my life 20, 30 years ahead, and the list of specific goals I rewrote every year.
Now, almost 10 years later, I have a rare opportunity to open that list and look at the thoughts of my 90-year-old self. Some of those goals became reality. Some I even surpassed. Some simply lost relevance over time. And some are still sitting there, waiting their turn.
And today I want to understand why. Why did some goals stay on paper while others became real?
I'm 28 now, and by this point I've tried a lot of things. I've jumped with a parachute, flown a paraglide, ridden motorcycles, traveled for months at a time, lived abroad, visited around 15 countries. And I feel strong emotions when I read what I wrote almost 10 years ago. I consider active leisure to be the top priority when it comes to sports and free time. That includes traveling to different countries, climbing mountains, relaxing at the beach, and many other things filled with adventures with close people. It might sound simple, like you wrote it, so what? But the thing is, back then, all of that felt just as far away to me as flying on a private jet or relaxing on my own yacht feels today. I was just a regular 90-year-old guy from a regular family. I didn't even have a passport. The first time I flew on a plane, I was 17, just to get to university. And the only time I'd ever been abroad was a 3-day trip to Baku with my mom when I was 14. What I wrote back then wasn't a plan. It was a vision, a strong desire for a certain kind of life. But I had absolutely no idea how to get there.
So today I ask myself, was it just coincidence that those words became reality? Or is there actually a connection?
Here is another part from that same text. I will also keep trying myself in new things. I won't forget my interest in photo and video production. A YouTube channel, a blog, something like that is a way to expand my communication and open new opportunities. Back then, lifestyle YouTube was just starting to grow where I lived. I watched those creators and thought, maybe one day I could do something like that too.
And now I actually have it. So again, coincidence? Before answering that, let's take a step back and look at two things. Why we write goals at all, and why I started doing it.
It all started with self-development books. I read hundreds of them, and in almost every second one, the same idea kept coming up. Goals shouldn't just stay in your head, they need to be written down. My first reaction was simple.
But why? I anyway know and remember what I want.
But this idea kept showing up again and again in different books from different authors. And at some point, I started wondering,
Maybe there is actually something to it. Then I realized the main problem with the I remember approach. What we remember and what we were actually thinking about at a specific moment in life are usually two different things.
to understand this, it's enough to reread any of your past notes, old journals, notes, thoughts you once wrote down. Very often, you get a strange feeling, like it wasn't even you who wrote it. Because the person you were back then and the person you are now are almost two different people. Our subconscious quietly rewrites our memory. It smooths out details, changes wording, and gradually reshapes the past to fit the present. And that's exactly why writing things down matters. It preserves your thoughts and goals in the exact form they existed at that moment. It doesn't let you drift away from them. The written goals stops being an abstract idea. It becomes a reference point you can return to. So I started writing, first on paper, then in spreadsheets. Then I started structuring everything across different areas of life. Step by step, I was turning them into something clean, organized, and perfect.
And that's where I made my next mistake. I turned goals into a ritual.
This is what the most people do. It always looks the same. At the beginning of the year, you sit down, open a notebook, and write a list of goals. In that moment, everything feels right, clean, inspiring. It feels that your life has finally become more conscious and under control.
But then nothing happens. The goals stay in the text, and life continues along the same path as before.
Sometimes people come back to those notes a year later, just to write a new list, and then close it again until the next year.
I had a year like that, and at some point I realized one simple thing. My goals had nothing to do with my everyday life. They existed separately. But a goal only works when it becomes a tool for managing your time and your life, when it stops you from living reactively and starts filtering your everyday actions and decisions.
And for that, you need a reverse projection, from the goal to the process. At first, I tried to do this through spreadsheets, diagrams, and a calendar. Later, I switched to TickTick. Now everything is in one place. Goals are broken down into steps, structured across timelines, placed into a calendar, and turned into specific tasks for a week. But even a system like this solves only part of the problem, because to actually start living consciously, you need to take one more step.
And this is probably the hardest step of all.
The transition from understanding to action, from simply seeing your goals and tasks to actually doing them. And that's exactly what led to results. For example, back then I wrote, after achieving all my goals in sports, I will spend at least 3 hours per week on training and maintaining physical fitness.
And it seems like I even reached that. Sport became part of my life, and for more than 3 years now I've been training on average 5 days a week. I also wrote that I want to cycle to 100 kilometers. At some point, I did over 400 in 16 hours. I wrote that I want to swim 2 kilometers in open water, and did that too. Then there were goals related to my blog. At first, very modest, reach 500 subscribers. Yeah, at some point, even that was a goal. Then there was a goal to reach 1,000 subscribers, and judging by the cross mark in the list, I didn't achieve it on time. Still, that didn't stop me from reaching tens of thousands later. There was also a goal related to studies, graduate from the academy with honors. Again, achieved. And everything that worked came down to one thing. I was fully involved. I was acting every day, moving my reality step by step in the direction of that goals. But there were also goals where I failed. For example, I wrote that I want to earn $15,000 per month from business by the age of 25. At 25, I was still very far from that. And now I understand that the problem was not the goal itself. The problem was that I had no real understanding of the path to it, which means there were no real actions that could lead me there. That goal was more emotional and ambitious than calculated.
And here the key difference becomes obvious. Some goals were just ideas, ambitious but disconnected from reality, no path, no actions. Others were broken down into steps. I knew exactly what to do and how. I planned those actions in my schedule and kept doing them for years. And those are the ones that became reality.
There were also goals that simply became irrelevant over time.
Sometimes you write down a goal, start working on it, but feel no real interest. At some point, you just stop. Sometimes a goal even starts to feel like pressure. And most of the time, it happens for two reasons.
Either the goal was imposed from outside, so internally you resist it, or you just confuse a goal with a rigid plan, and instead of holding direction, you start mechanically following a plan. But that's not how goals work.
Imagine a navigation system. Point B is set, but I can't change the route. Traffic jams, traffic lights, roadworks, accidents. I'm not obliged to follow the exact route that was built at the start and suffer from every obstacle. I just know the destination and adjust the path along the way. Goals work the same way. What matters is not how precisely you follow the original plan. What matters is, do you keep moving in the chosen direction? Over the past 10 years, I've built a whole collection of these goals.
And it's a strange feeling when you look at your thoughts from 10 years ago and realize that a significant part of them has actually become reality.
When I'm working on something and start losing focus or avoiding the hard parts, goals allow me to ask myself a simple question.
Am I changing direction consciously or just avoiding difficult work?
Without goals, any deviation feels like freedom, but in reality, it just depends on your unconscious reactions.
I came to simple but important conclusions. Should you write down your goals? Yes. Is it enough to achieve them? No. That's just the first step.
The second step is to see the path and plan it. The third step is to move along that path and be able to adjust it.
Goals don't work on their own. Only a life built around decisions connected to those goals works. So make right decisions and change your life. And subscribe. See you.